What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here, and what I got for your face balls today is the Real Steel Rocket. At least that's how I'm pronouncing it. It's spelled R-O-K-O-T, so I'm going to say rocket. I don't know if that's exactly how it's supposed to be said, but that's what we're going to do here. First off, let's get into a few size comparisons. Here it is up against the Spyderco Manix 2. So you can see here we're talking about a full-size knife. Here it is up against the Kershaw Link. This happens to be the M390 variant. So it's quite a bit bigger than the Link. Here it is up against the Spyderco Para 3 lightweight version. So I'm trying to line up the pivots here. I had a guy request that instead of lining up the butt end of the knife, and so, you know, either way. So there it is up against the Hogue Ritter Hogue RSK, and just because I have it sitting here and it's beautiful, let's throw out the St. Nick's exclusive Manix 2, and then I have one other larger knife. This is the Bestech Ascot. So you can see we're talking about a fairly good sized knife here in the old Rocket. So what are we looking at here? So overall length on this guy is 8.45 inches. You got a handle length of 4.7 inches and a blade length of 3.75. You got a handle thickness of 0.49, which it actually, I was kind of surprised by that measurement. It actually feels quite a bit thinner than that. You got a blade stock thickness of 140 thousandths and a really nice, very tall flat grind, and a behind the edge thickness that varies a little bit from 18 to 19 thousandths. Balance point on this knife is about right where you would expect it, right in that area right there. And weight on this guy. So we've got overall blade length 3.75 inches. Doesn't feel overly heavy. 3.968 ounces. So just under 4 ounces. You do have the cutting edge on this thing actually measures 3.95 inches. So you got this really nice, just kind of a standard drop point style blade. You do have a bit of a fuller that runs, not quite half the length of the blade. And then you've got thumb studs that are doubling as the blades stop in both the open and closed positions. For me, the fuller, I can't really get in there to finger flick. I guess I can a little bit. Haven't really tried that much, but the thumb stud works fantastic. You can use the thumb stud to flick it from the underneath side. They are double thumb studs. And then, of course, this is a front flipper as well. So construction, you're looking at G10, and there is some milling going on the G10. Just kind of an interesting dots and line pattern that is repeated over and over. I'm sure there's probably a rhyme or reason to the dots and lines because it is a pattern that is repeated. I don't know if it's like Morse code or something along those lines, but either way, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but there might be some sort of significance to it. You can also see the same dots and lines repeated on the pocket clip. So I probably should have done a little bit of research because I'm assuming that means something, but I didn't do any of the research. So I've been extremely busy doing all sorts of other things. So you do have an interesting, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, but you can kind of see it right there. So there is some see-through areas on the backspacer. You've got these two kind of milled out areas. The backspacer is G10. This is a liner lock knife. You have a full deep carry pocket clip. It is reversible, right or left side, tip up only carry. And then you also have a lanyard hole in the rear of the backspacer here. It's kind of, the liners are cut out, so you got to kind of feed your lanyard down through there if that's something you're interested in. Overall, it's a pretty sleek design. It feels very, very thin. You can see that you have this kind of really large chamfering or bevel here in certain areas. The whole knife is very comfortable, feels really good in hand. There is one hot spot, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But overall, I think it's a good design. Certainly action on it is really fantastic. I'm pretty sure this is riding on double row bearings, but we'll get into that in the disassembly here in a couple minutes. So we'll see exactly what this thing's got going on inside. But, you know, the geometry is correct on the front flipper. It works very nice, right or left-handed. And the thumb studs also work very well also. Perfect. All right. So you can see the thumb studs are relatively small in diameter, but they do double as the blade stop in both the open and closed positions, which is fine. I don't have any issues with that. When I first saw the thumb studs, just because of how tiny they are, I thought they would be uncomfortable, but they're really not. You get plenty of traction on them. There is a little bit of milling on the thumb studs, and yeah, they just work well. They work better than I expected when I first saw it. To my knowledge, this only comes in the black color. I haven't seen it in any other colors, but I do. It would be nice to get this in some other colors. You know, maybe blue or really anything else. And micarta would be really great on this as well. However, black G10 is the way they have offered it here. So you can see we do have a hole through the blade. I'm guessing that's purely just a weight relieving thing. I guess it does provide a little bit of aesthetic value in the closed position, but as you can see, when the blade is open, you cannot see that at all. So I don't think it's there for any functional purpose, but yeah, overall, it's pretty nice construction. I like the knife. This thing, if I haven't said already, here is the designer's logo right there. And then this is rocking Bowler N690 blade steel, which is fine for this price point. You know, I feel like the construction is good on this. You've got flat head hardware here, but it's all nicely made. It's all flush with the knife. And then you've got this kind of milling pattern on the pivot screw, only on one side. The other side is smooth. But otherwise, the hardware all seems to be very nicely done. The pocket clip, because of the way it's mounted, is actually a little bit better than deep carry. So it actually, you know, this knife's going to completely hide in your pocket, which is great. And the fact that it's reversible is also a nice thing. Price on this knife, I've seen it, generally it goes for just under $80. So $75 to $77, right in that range. And I think it's nice. For that price, I think you're getting decent value there. You know, you've got good quality construction. The materials are fine at that price, and the action is really, really good. You can see here the knife just is completely drop shut. Very, very nice action. Works extremely well. And then, you know, almost a 4-inch cutting edge, which is very nice. So let's get into this thing here quick. And then, of course, because this is a just flat hardware here, you know, you're going to want to use a screwdriver that is close to the size on the hardware. So, you know, don't use a little tiny screwdriver when you've got that size of opening. So you can see here that flathead fits that extremely well. Sorry about that. Hit my microphone. You can see we do have a little bit of, looks like Loctite in there. So I'll get that cleaned up in a moment. But I'm going to use a much smaller flathead for the rest of this. Alright, so these are spinning on the opposite side. The one thing that sucks about flathead screws is your screwdriver sliding out once you start getting the screws out a little ways, but just like that. Okay. Short of it just being flathead screws, the hardware seems to be done very, very well. So I like that. And I like the fact that the hardware sits flush. That's also really nice. So ergonomically, the only hot spot that I have on this thing is the pocket clip. So you can see this is like a ski jump. The pocket clip works extremely well. Goes in and out of the pocket well. It's got enough retention, but not so much that it's hard to get in and out of the pocket. You've got this kind of hole right here where the screw goes through that space. That provides a really nice place to grab and pull it out of your pocket. But you can see the ramp there, and that does dig into my hand a little bit. It's not horrible, but something that I felt like I should say. Let's see here. So there's one of the screws there. Let's see if we can get this out. It's just holding up on the back side here for some reason. I don't know. That pocket clip is kind of tight on the barrel. It sure looks like that's what's holding it up. My guess is that it's under. There you go. Yep, that's exactly what it was. So because the pocket clip, the base there is bent up like that, it kind of puts that barrel spacer in a bind. So it drug a little bit trying to get that out. So that'll be something that I might try and take a look at and correct that issue. So it is riding on direct double row. These are steel ball bearings with nylon cages. And then here you can see those milled out areas in the back spacer there. Yeah, nicely done. So on the pocket clip, you can see the little pocket there that it sits down into. So the pocket clip can go either on this side or the opposite side. It is a little bit tricky because it sits into that pocket, and then you have a barrel spacer like this that kind of spears through it. But you can see here we do have weight relieving going on the liners on both sides, and there's your pocket clip recess area. So pretty straightforward, not a whole lot going on in here. You do have a D-shaped pivot, which is nice, so not free spinning, which that's fantastic because the one side is not tooled, so at least they were thinking about you there. I'm just getting a little bit of Loctite off of that pivot screw, and then I dropped it. Okay, I found it. Let me get this back in there. So all in all, if you're looking for a front flipper, I was just having a conversation with a guy about front flippers the other day. And my experience has been people either love front flippers or they hate them. It's not something that people, learn to like them. And that may be true with some people, but the people that I know, if they hate front flippers right from the word go, then chances are they're probably not going to grow to like them over time. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure it's happened at some point, but so if you want to get into a front flipper for a decent price or a cheap price, if you will, this one's a pretty good one. Real Steel also has the G5 Metamorph. That one's also a really great front flipper for budget prices, if you will. So yeah, I think both of those are just, this one and the G5 Metamorph, both are just really nice knives that give you the front flipper experience without breaking the bank. So I think that's a good thing. It's something that people enjoy getting the opportunity, at least in my opinion. It's nice to have the opportunity to see if you like a front flipper or not before you spend a whole bunch of money on one. It's definitely kind of an acquired taste, if you will. And, not a big deal. If you enjoy front flippers, then great. If you don't, that's great as well. I happen to like front flippers just fine. They're not like the greatest thing ever for me, so it's not one of those deals where, oh, good Lord, I'm hitting everything today. Let me straighten that back out. Sorry about that. It's not, I can take them or leave them, really, I guess. It just depends. I don't like front flippers if the geometry is bad, and there certainly are some of those out there where they just do not function properly, in my opinion. So when they're done correctly and they work well, they're nice. And it does offer, in this case here, you've got a full-size knife that is arguably good in hand. Ergos are good on it. And if you don't end up having, a big giant flipper tab sticking out, if that's something that bothers you in the pocket, I know that's one thing that a lot of people dislike about certain flipper knives. And, just by nature, the way of a front flipper, you don't have that. So let's see here. So lockup on this thing is good. Centering is good. We might be a little bit loose. Yes, we are. So let me tighten up this pivot here a bit. Yeah, I'm a little bit too tight there. Now I have just the tiniest bit of blade wiggle. Tighten it back up. Okay. I have no blade play. Action is good. Blade is centered. Perfect. So, yeah, I think for, that $75 to $80 range, for having a good front flipper that has good ergos, good geometry, and then you also have the ability to use the thumb studs if you don't really like the front flipper. I just don't feel like you're going to get hurt too bad on this knife. It is right or left side carry, which is great, because with the front flipper and thumb stud knife like this, it's the exact same experience for a righty and a lefty. So yeah, it works really well. And like I said, ergos are good. The pocket clip is the only spot that does dig into my hand a bit. It's not terrible. It's not the worst pocket clip I've ever felt, but it does stick up there a ways. So just know that. Otherwise, the knife's really great. Like I said, goes in and out of pocket well. And for as large as it is, it's very, very thin and easy to carry. And you do have the lanyard. I like the way they integrated that into the backspacer. It's really nice. So, yeah. Overall, I think it's a nice knife. I think, having a budget option in the front flipper category that is actually of decent size, 3 3/4 inch blade, almost 4-inch cutting edge, I think it's done well. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed that, go check out the Real Steel Rokot. It's definitely a cool knife. I think they're a little bit hard to find right at the moment just because I think they were pretty popular and they sold out at a bunch of places. They'll definitely be back in stock. Yeah, if anyone's interested in any of the knives that you see on my channel, hit me up. I'm constantly buying, selling, trading, doing all the things. So anyway, guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. I guess I have one more sitting there. So, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks. Have a good day.